Okay, so I'll probably stop coughing sometime when this cough drop thing kicks in. For homework, you had you're supposed to investigate uh, Bitcoin mining, comparing cloud mining to standard mining, correct? Accurate statement? How'd that go? What did we learn from that? What do you think? Which is better? Why?
Depends.
Okay. It usually depends.
Yeah.
Okay, on what?
Well, for example, this is what I said, and I mean, I think it's, pretty clear. Since most of us live on campus, it would be foolish not to, if we chose cloud over that, because you do have to factor that into the cloud cost, electricity, that is.
Okay.
We would not have to pay, because you pay indirectly through tuition, but that's one fixed cost, not variable.
Okay. So, as a student on campus, it might make more sense for you to buy a physical piece of equipment and run it out of your dorm room where you're not having to foot the bill for electricity.
Yes.
Or where you've already footed the bill for electricity amongst other things through tuition. Okay. What about the downside of that, like heat and things like that?
I live in Coburg, so that's not a concern for me, but for maybe
Why is that not a concern?
AC.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure the air conditioning isn't great.
It's pretty cold. Our room's pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah.
So like this would actually benefit you from like a heating perspective.
In a winter heater. There you
Okay. Well, how's the heat in the winter in Coburg?
We'll find out.
Oh, this is your first year?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from you is that electricity plays a big part into it. Cost of electricity. Okay. Anybody pro cloud mining?
I think a pretty big advantage of cloud mining is that you aren't stuck with hardware that's rapidly going even further out of use than it already is when you buy it.
Okay.
Because at least any of us probably aren't going to foot the $5,000 to get a good piece of mining equipment.
Okay.
So whatever we do, if we were to get hardware, whatever we do get will already be very
partially antiquated at least.
Yeah, partially antiquated.
Okay, what if you did have let's just say that you were on an unlimited budget to buy one piece of equipment, and so there was somebody funding you for this, and it was a joint venture. They were giving you the cash. You were gonna do the research, get the whole setup and stuff, and you guys were just gonna split the profits. Whatever that means. So the money for the equipment up front wasn't necessarily a factor. So you can go out and you can buy the latest, greatest, best equipment. So you can go out and get the KNC miner 3 terahash.
I'm wondering if it would still be more cost effective to take that money that you would have spent buying the equipment and just rent hashing or hash space.
Okay. You're late, Mr. Quiz. I beat Destiny while you were gone, by the way.
go. How'd you do that?
I mean,
How'd you do that?
Took it with a hammer.
That's a star for the day. All right. So, real quick here. Let's just go to their website here real quick. They have their price of that's their chip. It's the 3 tier. Okay. Let's just operate off this guy. So this is KNC miners, Neptune, Bitcoin mining, dealy flippy, killer awesome thingy. $6,000, $6,000. and get you 3 terahashes. Okay, so 3,000 gigahashes. So let's do some math here. We'll put it in here. Is that the Neptune? Okay. So six grand gets you 3 terahash per second machine. What about power cost? 0.57 watts per gigahash. Okay. So that means 0.57 times 3,000. 1,710 watts. Is the power required to make that thing work. Okay? Now, let's just go to one of the Bitcoin mining calculator pages that lets us put in. No, I don't like that one. One that could take electricity into consideration. Okay, this one will work. So 3,000 gigahashes, 1,710 watts. If we were in Wisconsin, cost per kilowatt hour is about 13 cents. We'll say there's no pool fees. We'll talk about that. This is the current difficulty, blah, blah, blah. Hardware costs $6,000. Okay. Let's see, does it tell us the cost to break even? Does it actually say that, or are you just doing the math off of this?
Yeah, I'm just.
Well, it says profit. I'm not sure if that's already taking into consideration.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it is. Okay, so if we just look at this in a month, so in a month, that machine will generate 1.65 Bitcoins. And this is assuming Bitcoin stays at today's rate of $490 is what it's saying on here. It's somewhere in that ballpark. Okay, so in a month, we'll get 1.65 Bitcoins, new Bitcoins generated from that piece of equipment, which translates into about $816. We then have a bill of $160 we have to pay for electricity, which we wouldn't have here on campus, right? Most pools don't have any fees, so if we're using Ghash or BTC Guild or something like that, we wouldn't have any fees. So in a month, our profit would be $656.21 ish. So at the end of a year, so after a year, this would be our total power cost. This is our profit. I don't think this takes equipment into consideration. Doesn't look like it did to me. So really, we made $1,900 after a year, right?
Yeah.
Now, one thing this didn't take into consideration, though, is that every 14 days, the difficulty of the Bitcoin network goes up or down, depending on how long that, how close we were to that 10 minutes per block. Now, realistically speaking, the difficulty of the network probably kept going higher and higher and higher as more and more people were mining. So every 2 weeks, our profit likely went down. So, the first 2 weeks, we made 150 bucks. We made 300 bucks. Then maybe the next 2 weeks we made 280 bucks. Then the next 2 weeks we made 260 bucks, so on and so forth. Till we get to the end, we're making far less. Make sense? So if we extrapolate that out, maybe it's about a wash. At the end of the year, we just about paid for our Bitcoin equipment. Let's just say that's the case. All of it is based on the current market value of Bitcoin at the end, so on and so forth. Okay? Now,
How much less do you think you'll make if you, after a year, technology is going to be advanced, so your contribution is going to be lower. Which
Correct.
You get less Bitcoins. How much do you think you'll lose?
that's kind of what I was doing with the math. My contribution, every 2 weeks, I'm assuming we would be making about 20 bucks less.
So pretty much what you'd be making money from is not mining Bitcoin, but selling the miner after it's paid for itself.
Possibly. But, so you just bought the $6,000 miner, 3 terahashes. You're going to use it for a year. Over a year, you're going to generate 20 Bitcoins. Then you're going to turn around and you're going to sell that miner. How much are you going to be able to sell it for in a year? If you're lucky. 3,000 if you're lucky. I'd say pretty confidently you can get 1,000 out of it. That's a pretty substantial drop. So, and why is that? It's because in a year, there's going to be machines that go 10,000 gigahashes per second. So 10 terahashes and use even less electricity. So more power, less cost per gigahash using your own equipment. Okay, so that's buying your own equipment, but if you're going to keep it for a year, what if you didn't keep it for a year? Is there a ideal period of time that you could you keep this for a couple of months, then flip it? A couple different dynamics going on here with getting actual physical hardware. So let's say we go to KNC Miner. Now I'm going to bounce back to that site real quick. Hopefully I still left it up, or did I open up another? No, I didn't. Okay. No biggie. Huh. So notice here that this thing is third batch of these Neptune mining equipment. And I don't know if it, let's just click details. So tell us when it's going to ship. Third quarter of 2014. Okay, so these aren't even shipping yet. So we're going to spend our $6,000, write the check, whatever, and we're going to sit and we're going to wait and hope for the best. And eventually, after maybe a month, maybe 2 months, because they said third quarter, but what does that mean? This is one of the more reputable places, but a big deal in the Bitcoin industry is that a lot of places, they do pre-sales for their hardware and then miss delivery dates on the hardware. So they might say, give us your money. We're going to get this to you third quarter of 2014. You might actually get it first quarter of 2015, but they already have your 6,000 bucks. But you paid them 6,000 months ago, and now you could have gotten the same machine for less money, and you still don't have a machine. All right, so we're going to give them our $6,000, and we're going to wait. While we're waiting, how many Bitcoins are we making? None. No Bitcoins. All right, so that's problematic, correct? Finally, we get the machine. Let's just say, since KNC is pretty reliable, and this is their third batch, let's say we get it in about a month. Let's just be fair to them. So we spend $6,000, we wait a month. During that month, we lost out on some profit, correct? Now we have our equipment, now it's up and going. Okay, we got to run in our dorm room, just giving off crazy heat, keeping it warm during the winter. All right, so now we're generating stuff. And let's say after it's been running for a couple of months, we decide we're going to go ahead and invest in more equipment, new equipment, the newest, fastest, latest, greatest equipment, whatever. So we're going to take our profits. Now we're going to try to sell this machine. How much do you think you can sell this machine for in 2 months? A lot closer, maybe even more than you paid for it. Why is that? Do they? I'm not sure if that's the case. That is a possibility. So if you go onto eBay and you look at Bitcoin mining stuff, almost every single one will say in hand. Such and such Bitcoin miner in hand, ready to ship, blah, blah, blah. Not shipping fourth quarter, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we A, have it in hand. B, he pointed out, some places only accept Bitcoin. Well, what's the problem right now if a place only accepts Bitcoin? Well, you might pay them for it and you might not get anything, right? So if you're on eBay and you pay for something with PayPal and the dude on the other end doesn't ship it to you, what can you do? You complain to PayPal and PayPal makes it right, correct? So you're actually protected. It's safer to buy something via a third party like PayPal than it is to directly buy something with Bitcoin today. All right? So you might be able to even make money off the thing after it worked for 2 months for you. But let's just say it's a wash. Let's say you can sell it for about $6,000. Okay, so you made a little money in the middle. Not bad. What if you had done that in cloud mining? What's the difference between cloud mining and hardware mining? With cloud mining, you're not waiting for some hardware to ship. When you buy it, it's immediately going to work for you, right? So let's say we're gonna take that same $6,000. So we said this was about 2,000. Let's just do this over a year, just for this. This was 2,000 profit in new Bitcoin. Well, we thought we could sell it for a couple grand after the year. So let's say we made $4,000. 4,000 total profit after 1 year. Fair enough? That's if Bitcoin stays steady in terms of its current value. Okay? If Bitcoin crashes down to a penny a piece, just go find a corner and cry. If Bitcoin goes way, way up, you're going to be happy. Okay? So, the 4,000 total profit, if the price of Bitcoin, the fair market value of Bitcoin doesn't change, that's buying that piece of equipment. Now, what about cloud mining? So, cloud mining, current rate for cloud mining is about 0.0038 Bitcoin per gigahash. That's about what it costs to buy 1 gigahash of cloud mining today. So doing some math, if we have $6,000 and we're going to divide that by 494 just to keep it even with what we had in the other thing, that gives us 12.15 Bitcoins. So we're going to get 3,197 gigahashes, that number. Something like that. So a little bit faster than we had up here, but roughly equivalent. If you look at the Neptune's website, they guarantee 3,000, but typical speeds are a little faster or something like that. But let's just say it's about a wash. Okay? And we get this today. Starts right off the bat. Don't have to wait for third quarter shipping or something, because somebody else has the equipment. All you're doing is you're renting it. Okay? So, how much electricity is that taking? 0 watts. Now, you're probably going to, depending on which cloud mining place you go to, you're probably going to end up spending some money with them for a maintenance fee, paying some overage cost for their electrical cost. Let's just call it a fraction of a Bitcoin every 10 minutes or something like that. Some tiny, tiny, tiny fraction. All right. Well, now, at the end of 1 year, we saw over here, we had 6,000 we had 2,000 in Bitcoin profit, right? Well, does that mean over here, we're going to have more than that, right? We're going to have 8,000 in Bitcoin profit because we didn't have equipment to pay off, right? So this is 8,000 total profit after 1 year. So going back to our calculator,
But you still spent the 6,000.
getting there, yep. Is this the one? Okay, so at the end of that year, that equipment got us 21.4 Bitcoins. 21.4 brand new Bitcoins. And 21.4 times 494 is how they got that 10,571. He told me he was leaving early. This is crap. Okay, it's 10,571. So if that's the price of Bitcoin didn't change. So we have 21.4 brand new Bitcoins. All right. Now we can turn around and we can sell our gigahashes. We can decide we're going to get rid of those. Now, like I said, today the price per gigahash is 0.0038 Bitcoins. A year from now, will it still be the same as that? There's no guarantee. This is actually fairly low compared to what it's been over the last 3 months. This is at a pretty low point right now. But let's just say it stays the same. Since we're keeping all our other variables, keeping those alone, leaving them alone. So we're going to have 10,571 bucks. In new Bitcoins after 1 year, assuming we cash out. And then we're going to sell our 3,197 gigahashes for fresh Bitcoins. We're going to get rid of them so they're no longer working for us. So we're going to have 3,197 times 0.0038. That gets us those Bitcoins. Now, most of these places take some sort of percentage of that. So we're going to be left with 11.9 Bitcoins. They usually take a 2% fee each way, actually. So just to mimic it, let's do the double fee on this side since we didn't do it on the way in. So 11.4 Bitcoins left times 494 is 5,641 bucks. So that's plus 10,571, 16,212. At the end of that year. Which looks better? You get the piece of equipment, wait for it to arrive, have a delay, pay for the power, at the end of the year, sell the equipment, cash out your Bitcoins. Or you can turn your money into cloud hashing immediately, have it working for you for a year, gaining Bitcoins. You can choose to reinvest those Bitcoins into more cloud hashing while it's going, or you can just leave it piling up. So you can actually make this number go up if you wanted to. Again, this isn't without risk, but you can make this number go up if you want. And then in the end, cash everything out, and you have more money. So it looks like cloud mining makes more sense, doesn't it? Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you buy the cloud mine or you rent it?
You are taking, here, let me show you depending on where you went and researched your cloud mining stuff, I'm going to show you the one here at CEX. No, their thing looks funny on there. So the way this works is with CEX, you take US dollars, you turn US dollars into Bitcoin, then you buy, and then you turn Bitcoin into gigahashes. These gigahashes then mine for you. So those guys are actually doing work for you, earning you more Bitcoins. So somewhere in here, these gigahashes actually are producing fresh new Bitcoins for you as if you had the hardware. At any point in time, you can sell off your gigahashes for fair market value of gigahashes. Because it's what you're doing is you're buying from CEX their gigahashes. And then you're saying, I'm going to use these. I'm going to hold on to them right now and let them mine for me. Now I'm done with them mining for me. So you can sell off those gigahashes for whatever you can sell them for. Could be more than you bought them for. Could be less than you bought them for. Whatever the fair market value is. If you look over here at CEX, up top, let's see. Just looking at it a second ago. Here you go. Last price was 0.00376580 gigahashes, Bitcoins per gigahash. So if you bought it at 0.0038 and you sold it at 0.00376, you lost a little bit, but hopefully you made enough in the middle in new fresh Bitcoins. But as soon as you sell off those gigahashes, they're no longer mining for you. So you can turn gigahashes earn you Bitcoins. Gigahashes are then also worth Bitcoins. So these are new Bitcoins. And these are the Bitcoin equivalent of your current gigahashes, which then turns into your total account balance. In Bitcoin when you cash out. That make sense? So as long as you keep your Bitcoin in gigahashes, they're mining for you as if you have a piece of equipment, earning you new Bitcoins. You can take these new Bitcoins, you can buy more gigahashes with them if you want, or you can just let them pile up. Right now, I do a lot of cloud mining stuff, and right now I'm letting my Bitcoins pile up. I'm not reinvesting in gigahashes. Gigahashes have been a little bit unstable lately. I can kind of show that to you here real quick. It's going to show me over the month. I might have missed the boat on this. Yeah, I really can't show you on here. They don't look too bad over the last month, but if it would let me show you a 2-month picture, you'd see it go from here down to here. A pretty big drop. They were at 0.007 Bitcoin per gigahash. Now they dropped to 0.0038. In that same period of time, the price per Bitcoin in US dollars went from about $650 US to about $490. So it's almost like a double whammy. Cost per Bitcoin in terms of US dollars went down, and also cost per Bitcoin to gigahash went down. So it's a pretty big drop. So I'm a little bit less trustworthy of these guys right now. I'm holding on to my gigahashes with the hope that if there's a spike, for instance, if I see these guys jump back up to like 0.005 or 0.006, I would probably exit out of at least half of my gigahashes. Just trying to recoup some of the losses I wrote down. But typically, at least historically, this has stayed pretty stable. But there's some weird stuff going on with Bitcoin right now, so we'll have to see. So there's your evidence that anything you do, it's not without risk. But one thing I can tell you is whatever happens over here is going to be the same thing that happens over here. Whether you're dealing with it in hardware or you're dealing with it in cloud hashing, they're going to be susceptible to the same problems. Okay, so if the price per gigahash of cloud mining goes way down, the price you'll be able to sell your equipment for will also go way down. Okay, those guys will balance each other out. So the question here is, why would anybody mine with real hardware versus cloud mining? There's got to be a catch. This looks a lot better, doesn't it? I take my money today. I can try it out. I mean, what's the chance of the price per gigahash changing drastically in the next week? Probably not drastically the next week. You might see a little fall off. Like when it went from 0.007 to 0.0038, that didn't happen overnight. It was, and then people kept buying more, thinking it was cheap, and then it just kept ticking down. So you could take your $6,000 today. You could buy cloud hashing, have it working for you immediately. Now, just working right now. And in a week, bail. And what would you have gotten in a week? No, I keep exiting our calculator, don't I? In 1 week, you generated $200 in new Bitcoins. So you got almost a half a Bitcoin in 1 week of that. And then you can decide, oh, I've had enough with this game. Too rich for my blood. Cash out. You got an extra half a Bitcoin. As long as the price of Bitcoin wasn't too volatile in there, you cash out, and maybe in the end, after you paid all your fees and stuff like that, you're up $100. Worst case, maybe you're down $100, but you tried it. I say worst case, that's not really worst case. Worst case is your timing was horrific. And you bought your Bitcoins at like 650, and then overnight they dropped to 450. And then you bought in your gigahashes at 0.38, and overnight they dropped down to 0.0030 or something. And then you lose half your value in a week. So that's all possible. But like I said, the same thing would probably happen over on the hardware side as well. So the question comes back, though, and this is relating to your paper, why would somebody mine with hardware versus mine with cloud? Now, what we've just shown here isn't the only type of cloud contracts. If you would have looked at a different site, actually, I think CNC has their own cloud mining. Join their Arctic cloud. Okay, here we go. 3 terahashes of Bitcoin mining for 6 months is $5,500. It's $1.89 per gigahash. So you're going to pay that for 6 months. You don't have to pay the power bill. So if we're really comparing apples to apples here, and you are paying the power bill. Oh, they keep disappearing over here. That's what keeps happening to it. Go back up here to the power bill. Let's just say 1,700. That's fine.
Power cost is 13 cents.
Oh, thank you. So $159 per month in power is what you'd be paying. So let's call that 3,600. Let's call it $1,000 for 6 months. Sound fair? Close enough? Yeah, it's close enough. So $1,000 is what you'll be paying out of pocket for electricity if you own the equipment yourself. So that makes this about $4,500, since you're not going to be paying the electricity for it. This is equivalent speed to their Neptune, that piece of hardware we were talking about earlier. So this is like getting a Neptune today for $2,000 off, or $1,500 off, and have it working for you immediately. But what happens at the end of the 6 months? At the end of the 6 months, you get all the Bitcoins that thing generated for you. So you get 3 terahashes of Bitcoins for 6 months. That was on this guy. So that's, let's just call it 11 Bitcoins. So you made 11 Bitcoins off of that. At the end of 6 months, 11 Bitcoins times 500 is $5,500. That's if Bitcoin doesn't do anything. So you can spend $5,500 today and have a machine mining for you for 6 months, getting you $5,500 in Bitcoins. And then your contract's over. You don't get any refund. You can't sell the contract. It's done. Okay? So now you have $5,500 worth of Bitcoins. Why did you do it? Why would anybody do that? If you had $5,500, you could just buy 11 Bitcoins, right? And then check it in 6 months. So you can mine 11 Bitcoins in an hour by just converting US dollars into Bitcoins. Why would you do a mining contract? What's the point? So using that example, that guy's zero profit, right? Zero profit, we had pretty things to look at for 6 months. And we grew 11 Bitcoins in 6 months. Or we could have just turned our US dollars into 11 Bitcoins day one and said, hey, we have 11 Bitcoins. Why would anybody do this? This guy at 3,000 gigahashes per second will earn you 11 Bitcoins in 6 months. Let's just say that's a fact. Okay? There's going to be a little play in there depending on the Bitcoin network difficulty and stuff like that. But let's just say it'll generate 11 Bitcoins in 6 months. Now, all the math we've been doing is if we took $5,500 and we turned it into Bitcoins today, we would get 11 Bitcoins at $500 per Bitcoin-ish. Well, what if Bitcoins were a lot more expensive today? Bitcoins just happen to be down right now. What if they were up at 670, back where they were a couple months ago? If they were at $670 a piece, I could only buy 8.2 Bitcoins today with $5,500. Or I could buy their mining contract and generate 11 Bitcoins in 6 months for $5,500. What if I think Bitcoin's going to go up in value? Which am I better off doing? Well, I can buy 8.2. Let's just say, well, here, let's go this route. Let's go the route where they're a little bit more expensive right now. So they're $670 per Bitcoin right now, let's say. And I'm going to spend $5,500 and get 8.2 Bitcoins today. And I'm just going to sit on them. And in 6 months, I'm going to sell them for, we're going to hope it goes up. Okay, we're going to sell it for $1,000 a piece. Just throw in, let's just keep consistent numbers. So I turned my $5,500 investment into an $8,200 investment. As long as it went up, right? Or I can take that same $5,500 investment and go into cloud mining and get 11 Bitcoins and have $11,000 if I sell them in 6 months. Well, that's better, right? I made more money that way. Does that make the cloud mining make more sense? In that model, the cloud mining makes more sense as long as you think Bitcoins are going to go up, as opposed to just buying Bitcoins at today's rate and holding it. Did you make money either way? Yeah, if Bitcoins went up. If Bitcoins went up, you made money either way, right? Okay? Is more money always better than less money? Depends what the risk is on the other side of it, right? Okay. At that same price point, what if I had gone into Bitcoins here? The 0.0038 Bitcoins per gigahash. I bought my 3,100 whatever. It generated me, how many Bitcoins would that have gotten me in 6 months? Oh, about the same, 11, right? And then at the end of the 6 months, I can then sell off my gigahashes. And let's just say my gigahashes are worth about half. Just trying to play devil's advocate a little bit here. So they're not worth the full 0.0038 that I paid for them. So they're actually worth that, 0.0019. So I'm going to get an extra 5.7 Bitcoins out. So I have 16.7 Bitcoins from that same investment. Again, as long as Bitcoins went up, I actually made even more on that guy, right? Why would anybody do one of these mining contracts over this mining contract? Why would somebody buy a 6-month-long mining contract, so it's a fixed time period, that mined for you for a period of time and then expired, and you just got the Bitcoins it generated, as opposed to this one, where you can get in or out whenever you want, and at the end, you can hopefully recoup some of your initial investment? Do you see any advantage of this one over this one? Now, I'll tell you that this KNC cloud mining is actually pretty new. This guy is CEX. It's been out for a little bit longer. So this guy has come out with the knowledge of this guy. Can you think of any reason why somebody would want to go with this over this? there any way the numbers make sense?
I mean, the company would make money because they can sell the hardware. So that's where, I mean, they would have it, and they would rent it out, and then they would just.
Well,
sell
this
it.
who in this one?
No, in the KNC, like if that was my company, I would be making money on selling my used.
Right, I'm talking about from the consumer perspective. If you guys are thinking about mining Bitcoin and you're debating, do I buy a piece of hardware? Do I buy a contract with KNC? Do I buy gigahashes through CEX? If you're just comparing those three models, is there any argument you can make that would say buy from KNC over, if you're going to go cloud mining? Why would you ever choose this model over this model? Is there any advantage? It exists. Just came out. Brand new. There's got to be a reason why somebody might go for that over per gigahash.
If the gigahash is expensive, then you wouldn't want to go with it.
Just at today's price. We just looked at literally today's price. These are the things at today's price.
Yeah, today's price is not. You want to go with the single one, but if the gigahashes went up, it would be better if you went with the cloud mining because they would be cheaper over a longer period of time, more consistent with their prices.
What would be more consistent over a long period of time?
The KNC cloud mining.
Okay, so you get 6 months. This is 3 terahashes per second for 6 months. That's what this guy is, and that's $5,500, right? This guy is this cost per gigahash plus maintenance fee. For as long as you want it. So you can sell it at any point at whatever the current rate is. So there's really 2 separate markets in here. Is there ever a situation where this makes more sense? Let's say you bought 3,000 gigahashes here. I know we're out of time. I'm wrapping it up. If you bought 3,000 gigahashes here and the price started going down, you can reinvest cheaper. If you bought 3,000 gigahashes here, you have to ride it out for 6 months. Think about that for next class. I'm going to pose the same question at the beginning of next class. Why would anybody go with these newer type contracts like this over this? There's got to be a reason. All right, I'll see everybody on Friday.